Hello, my dear viewers. It is March 6th, a traditional review of events on the fronts of the Ukrainian war. So what happened? Well, the main events, as before, are taking place in the Avdiivka and Chasiv directions. Moreover, in the Avdiivka sector, judging by the information that is coming in, the enemy's counterattacks of the 47th Brigade, the third separate assault, are gradually subsiding. It was obvious that sooner or later the forces of these two brigades would be seriously undermined, and accordingly, the enemy's counterattacks would be replaced by ours. Over the past 2 days, this is exactly what is being observed now, and the enemy continues to suffer losses, including every day there is news that another Abrams tank has been knocked out or destroyed, and thus the enemy, having brought into battle its last reserves in this area, in fact, was only able to temporarily stabilize the situation, according to the information which is now passing, is going on. The regrouping of our troops in the coming days. I think that the offensive actions of our parts here will be resumed. At the same time, further to the south in the Krasnogorovsky sector, the opponent is increasingly and more obvious losses. There is a lack of reserves. It is visible even on a small sector of the front that is slightly north of Tonakaya, Berdichi, Orlovka. The opponent succeeded to constrain our offensive. Simultaneously with this, Brej was formed further to the south. Precisely for this reason, now already our troops all more deeply enter on the territory of Krasnogorovka. Well, it is true. Here is a key point, key break of defense. The local brick factory, the capture of which as a whole will determine the destiny of all city. That is, our troops gradually enter the southern outskirts, gradually dive into the southern outskirts, are fixed on this territory. Prepare for storm of this enterprise. Also for the opponent, the east-northeast, if very dangerous direction is. Our troops will enter the city from the northeast. Essentially, the VSU garrison here can get stuck in a very bad situation, especially since on the enemy side here, our shells continue to fall in large numbers, but as I understand it, the enemy here won't hold out without reserves for long. I'm really hoping for a positive outcome in the coming weeks. The loss of Krasnogorka for the enemy will be very painful, not in a strategic sense, of course, but in a tactical one, yes, at the same time. With this, our attacks, storm operations in the Novomikhailivka, Georgievka area, victories continue. There are tactical successes. In Novomikhailivka, there are tactical successes. In Georgievka, there are small advancements, yes, on the whole are. In Novomikhailivka, we've already occupied more than half of the settlement. The center of the settlement is ours, but the enemy fiercely resists in the western outskirts of it. So far, it's not visible that they are abandoning their positions. A fierce battle for every house, literally the same on the Chasiv front. Despite overall, the enemy is suffering serious, huge losses. It must be said that over the past few days, there have been a lot of enemy obituaries, both in the Svitlodarsk sector and in Novomikhailivka, and on the Shchastya Yar front. An enormous number of deaths by the hundreds every day. The enemy's losses are colossal, nevertheless, while it doesn't surrender its positions in Ivanivsky. The western outskirts are still under its control. Despite this, every day our troops gnaw through the enemy's defenses. There is also a fierce battle for the adjacent hills north of Ivanivsky, or south of Bodanivka. Very fierce fighting has also resumed in Bodanivka. There is also some tactical progress here, while the fierce battle, which has been going on here for several weeks now, has not stopped on our side, and so large reserves are being thrown here. In fact, in terms of the number of forces involved as of today, at the moment it is the Chasiv direction that is the main one. We also wish our guys success. A little to the north on Lyumansky direction, there's a movement forward in the direction of the Thorns, and also our troops are active in the Kupinsky area. Exactly what we talked about in previous reviews is happening. If the enemy concentrates his forces somewhere to repel our offensive, he will have weak points in the defense, which our troops will take advantage of. At the moment, such places are the Leelman direction and the Krasnohorivka direction of the Donetsk front. But again, if the enemy transfers reserves here, then other holes will appear. That is, everything suggests that the enemy really has fewer and fewer reserves now, and this is reflected at the front. Also yesterday, there was a very interesting video, the defeat of reactivity. The Heimer multiple launch rocket system was covered by our troops with a presumably corrected Tornado-S multiple launch rocket system. Fire with a range of up to 120 kilometers, and for the enemy, really, why do I pay attention to this episode, is a very dangerous alarm bell. Until now, it was the superiority of the counter-battery fight that was. For him, it was a very important stabilizing factor, which generally kept the enemy's defense from collapsing.